We're about to take you off the coast of Iceland on a midnight mission that's become a tradition for all involved. It's called the Puffling Patrol. It's a group of volunteers lending the tiniest of helping hands to some lovable birds in need.
We didn't see them at first, but out of the mist, there they were, like giant moss-covered icebergs. The Westman Islands poke out of the Atlantic just off the southern coast of Iceland. None of the islands are inhabited, save one, the island of Heimaey, and even it almost wasn't. A volcano erupted back in 1973, forcing the evacuation of everyone here. There are now about 4,500 hardy souls who live in this fishing village, but they weren't who we came to visit. We came to see the residents perched high in those cliffs, the island's Atlantic Puffins. They're impossibly cute, even if birding isn't your thing. Their colorful beak inspired their nickname, Clowns of the Sea. And every spring, they make these islands their big top. They couldn't be more celebrated here. A 6-foot puffin statue greets tourists in the harbor. The street signs bear their beak, so do the benches. And there is plenty of puffin paraphernalia for purchase.
They have been really a big attraction for tourism, which is now one of our biggest industries.
But biologist Erper Hansen says puffins are not as plentiful as they once were. Their numbers have been declining, down by a third or more, he says, just since 2002.
The species is still very abundant in the Atlantic. But when you have these long-term declines, then you start getting worried, and if this continues, it's not going to end very well.
It's not all puffin hunting that's to blame. Yes, that does happen. It's been going on since the Vikings settled the place. In fact, we found puffin as an appetizer at one of the island's restaurants. While the hunting certainly doesn't help, Hansen says the puffins have larger issues. Breeding problems, for one. We followed him to the top of the sea cliffs where he inspected the puffin's burrows.
And you can see underneath the wing here, it's outside. It's hiding something under the wing. There's a chick underneath here.
But only about 55% of the burrows had an egg inside. Normally, he says, about 75% of them do. There's a food shortage too, he thinks. Baby puffins, called pufflings, eat sand eels, those silver fish in their parents' mouths. But they've been in short supply, he says, because of rising ocean temperatures.
Now this one is incubating a small chick. It's very late. I'm not sure that chick is going to make it.
Just getting out of those burrows to begin their lives can be pretty risky. It happens after the sun dips into the Atlantic and the moon rises high above. Instinct tells baby puffins to follow that moonlight out to sea. But the lights from Heimaey's harbor have given the moon some competition, and many pufflings get confused. They fly toward the lights of town instead, where they either starve or end up in the clutches of a hungry cat. And that's when something called the Puffling Patrol, armed with headlamps and flashlights, scrambles into the inky black.
You a puffin?
Yes, two.
Two.
This is a rescue effort that's been generations in the making, one that's led by the children of Heimaey.
Like 7-year-old Aaron Sinderson.
It was like Christmas morning when his dad Sindri woke him up just before midnight. Aaron didn't want to miss a moment of this annual puffin ritual. Do I get anything special if I spot one? Yes. Is there like a puffin award?
You get to catch it.
I get to catch it. To catch one, though, you have to find one.
Oh, is that one right there?
Black birds on black streets, no easy task.
It's a piece of trash.
But before long, a little luck.
Oh, there's one up there. There's one.
Aaron and his mom, Hilda, raced out of the car in search of their puffin prize. The problem? Sometimes a catch doesn't always stay a catch. It can go on like this for hours.
There's no one there. There.
At one point, Aaron even started making what I could only assume was a puffin mating call of sorts. And it worked. He even rescued one right in his grandmother's backyard.
Ég er búin að finna 4 með þessari.
Það ekki. Þetta er svakalegt að duglegur.
Pufflings were everywhere, and so were their pint-sized rescuers, which explained this charming sight the following morning. A parade of kids, bundled against the cold, some barely old enough to walk, bringing their catch to the shore and setting their pufflings free. Aaron and his little sister Sarah among them.
This is something we did when we were younger, and I'm very glad to be able to do it with my kids.
What's so sweet about it is it really is a tradition, right? That's just handed down from one generation to another, right?
It is. And it's quality family time. Sometimes there's a little bit of sadness and some tears if we go home and we didn't find any, but there's quality time that you have with your family. And
Looking up from the tablets and smartphones and stuff like that.
But this is only part of the Puffin Patrol's mission. All those kids with all those boxes first bring their puffins here, to the local aquarium.
Where did you find him?
Close to the harbor.
Close to the harbor?
Yeah.
Can you see him?
This is where kindness and science meet. Each puffling is weighed, its wingspan measured, and all their puffin particulars are entered into a handwritten journal. They're tagged, too, each given their own number.
I love it. It's good energy here.
Good energy and good research, as it turns out. Biologist Erper Hansen is more than happy for all this pint-sized help.
How much does that add to the data that you have?
That's the key. This is already over 2,000 now. I think it's going to end in probably somewhere around 5,000 or so.
It's all fairy tale kind of stuff, except for the puffins themselves, of course. And no one is more aware of the stress it puts on the birds than their young rescuers.
Sometimes they make a little weird noise.
A little weird noise? Maybe they're saying thank you.
No.
They might be.
How do I say thank you? By biting.
Good point.
There's an understanding, it seems, between bird and child, an unspoken promise that is kept as soon as they're both back at that windswept cove, where friendship is traded for freedom. There's a technique to it, sort of a two-handed softball pitch.
1, 2.
Go, go, go! Nearly 5,000 pufflings were scooped up, tagged, and put back on course this season, one of the largest rescue missions in over a decade. If all goes well, they'll return from the open ocean to raise their own chicks here, where Aaron and his young friends will be waiting to help the next generation of puffins prosper.